Hi there, it's Josephine back again on my Good Enough Mum site. I just wanted to share today a little bit more about the what I was talking about last week about growth being messy, because this is what I've been experiencing this week. So yesterday I did something new that I haven't done before. One of the things that I'd really like to do is get more involved in group work, and so I volunteered to run an online group yesterday where we were talking about sort of boundary issues and about saying no. And this is a group of women that I'm involved in working with in a sort of where I'm being coached. I'm part of a coaching group, and I agreed to take on running the group yesterday. So it was quite a new experience for me, and I was quite interested to notice the way that I felt about it, because I was actually really looking forward to it and quite excited about it. And then actually after I'd done it, I felt really quite exhausted. And all sorts of thoughts came up for me about whether or not I'd done a good job, and had I listened properly, and had I made it too much about me. There was so much going on. I had to facilitate, I had to listen, I also had to contribute, and it was pretty exhausting. And actually what it did was it led to me thinking all sorts of stories in my head, and the consequence of that is that I felt pretty deflated afterwards. And then I began to think, oh my goodness, tomorrow I have to come onto the Good Enough Mum site and I have to do a live feed, and what on earth am I going to talk about? How on earth can I find something when I'm struggling so much with my own stuff, when I'm doing new stuff? And anyway, this morning I got up and to be honest, I felt pretty low this morning, and I felt under pressure to produce something for today. And I'm sharing this with you because this is real life. This is what it's really like, isn't it, for all of us? So I came downstairs, and fortunately I am lucky enough that because my children are older, I do get a little bit of time to myself in the day. And so I came downstairs and I did my meditation. And the wonderful thing about meditating and breathing is that slow, calm breathing actually allows your brain to function. One of the things that can happen when you're feeling very stressed is that your brain goes into the fight, flight or freeze response, and basically your body's getting ready to deal with a threat, and it sort of switches off that thinking part of the brain, which is sort of at the front of our brain. It just switches off. And that's what was happening with me, because I've been telling myself stories about what I'd done the day before, and I was thinking to myself that I wasn't really good enough to be able to come and share anything with you today. And I felt under pressure because obviously I'm doing this, I want to be able to help people, and I thought, what have I got to give? But the meditation, what it includes is slow, calm breathing. And the thing about slow, calm breathing is it actually slows our whole system down. It slows our heart rate down. And that has a knock-on effect. We actually sort of trick our bodies into thinking that we're actually safe. And so that just enabled me to stop feeling so worried. And what came back to me at that moment was a poem by Rumi that I've got from when I did my mindfulness-based stress reduction course. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy the poem and put it at the bottom of the live feed, because I think it's a really helpful thing. It talks about how when you wake up in the morning, quite often thoughts can come to you, and there's thoughts that we welcome. We like to have happy thoughts. We like to feel cheerful. We like to feel loving. But sometimes the thoughts that come and knock on our door, they're thoughts that perhaps aren't so welcome. And Rumi likens it to sort of a guest house, and that you have all sorts of visitors. And some of them might be more welcome than others. And that's the thought that came to me in my meditation today. And I found that quite a comforting thought, because I realised that the thoughts that I'm having about not being good enough, these are normal thoughts. And it enabled me to go away and to relax, really, and to feel okay about myself again. And I went on to think about it, and I thought, I've sort of gone into this phase of thinking that I'm not good enough. In actual fact, what I did was I tried something new yesterday. And what I was saying last week on my live feed is that growth is messy. And of course, that's what was happening for me yesterday. I was trying something new and I'm growing through the experience, but it's not going to be right first time. It's not going to be perfect. And that's what I needed to remind myself of today. And that thought sort of came to me today when I was out on my bike ride. And so that's sort of just something I'd like to encourage you with today, is that often just taking a little bit of time out, if it's possible, to notice what we're thinking and to remind ourselves that we don't need to be perfect, that there are sometimes going to be unwelcome thoughts. But those thoughts actually are quite, if we hear them, that's right, Saz has just said progress, not perfection, I always tell myself. Thanks, Saz. Yeah, if we can remind ourselves, if we can take some time out just to breathe and help to lower our stress levels, quite often that will help us to feel a bit better. And of course, for you mums out there, you're not only learning, you've not only got small children who are growing, but also you're growing as a mum as well. And I was even thinking this morning, you know, although my children are grown up, I've never had a 23-year-old before. I've got a 23-year-old, and this is a new experience for me, you know. And I've also got a 21-year-old who's very different to the 23-year-old. So I've never had a 21-year-old like this before. You know, it's a constant learning process, and so I guess the message today is to be kind to ourselves. And to recognise that some of the stuff that we hear going on in our brains, they're just stories, they're storylines, and underneath it all, there's still that innate kindness and innate growth that we've got. And just to remind ourselves that growth is messy. And so that's sort of like what I've learned for myself. And, you know, I'm sort of encouraged by my coach, who says that we're all on a journey and some of us are just a few steps ahead of everybody else. And that's the reason why I'm sort of doing the work that I want to do, because I want to reach out to people who are maybe just a step or so behind me. I'm still learning. We're all still learning. And I think that's where this comes from. And this is the story that I've got to tell, really. I'm on this path as well. And I hope that's encouraged you, and thanks to those of you that are watching, and hopefully I'll see you again next week, same time, 9:15 on Tuesday. Thanks very much, guys. Bye.